You're someone with a vision for your practice, for your side hustle, and for your personal journey. But when it comes to establishing your path on how to get to where you want to be with your practice, things get a little messy. You're also someone who'd prefer to go in person instead of to groups and listening to everyone else's story. To me, it sounds like you could benefit from one-on-one consulting with our experienced practice of the practice consultants. From $5.95 a month and up, you can work with a consultant that will give you more direction and practical tried and tested tips matched to you and your goals. For more information, visit practiceofthepractice.com/apply. Again, that's practiceofthepractice.com/apply. This is the Practice of the Practice podcast with Joe Sanok, session number 1331. I'm Joe Sanok, your host, and welcome to the Practice of the Practice podcast, where we help you build a thriving private practice you absolutely love. And we have been doing a series every week where I've been talking with you about how I'm building a counseling practice from scratch. So this practice is Great Lakes Online Counseling. The website is in the final stages. So a bunch of stuff has happened. Last week you heard my interview and discussion with Tom O'Malley looking at the website from Session Sites, and we're super excited about it. So let me give you an update on where we're at with things. So I decided I wasn't going to get all the social media set up until we had the copy from the website. And so I have the LinkedIn page set up as a framework, but I don't have the logo on there. I don't have the copy from the website. Those are things that I've been coordinating with Tom on getting this week. And so I wanted to get some of that set up this week. I'm going to probably delay that to this week to work on it in this final week of 2025. I know you're hearing this, episode go live in January. But I have one more week left in the year, and then I'm going to take a few weeks off. So social media was something I was getting set up. And so that didn't really get set up this week. So sometimes I think I'm realizing this like 2 hours a week thing. It's good to have other things to do, because then if something kind of falls through or slows down, or I just have other things I want to focus on, then I can. I think one of the big things is I met with Ubuntu freelancers, and so they're a podcast sponsor. You've heard me mention their names before, to really hear more about them from the standpoint of being a clinician-owned practice and having them take it over. So as we talked, they really feel like they're in alignment with me in regards to being able to take over the primary kind of functions of running the practice when I first get started. So my next step with them, because I wanted to make sure I understood how do phone systems work, email, all of that. And so I need to have a, VoIP, VoIP, a voice over internet provider. So I'm looking at two things I've narrowed down. So Google Voice, that's what Melissa from our team, what her mega practice uses, is Google Voice. And then a lot of folks also use Spruce. So I'm going to be reaching out to Spruce to talk with them about what that might look like. Want to just make sure that we're able to be professional, but also to keep that risk down. But also we want our freelancers to be able to easily answer the phones when we're open. So sorting that out in the coming week or so. It may be in the next week that I'm working. It may be once we get back for the new year. So working on that, kind of really wanted to make sure I understood the logistics of what it takes to do all of the voice over internet, make sure it's HIPAA compliant, business associates agreement, all of that. Because obviously if I'm setting this up from the beginning, I want it to be right from the beginning so that it can scale, that as we add clinicians in. So the hiring that I was shooting for January, I think really as we wait for this website to get up, I really want that to be up before we start hiring. I think it's going to look bad if we don't have that up. And to have all of the Google email set up. So that's on my list as well this week. I should add that. So we've got the Spruce. I'll reach out to them. And then we've also got voice over internet. And then... Okay. It was the Google admin. want those emails all set up so it says, hello at Great Lakes Online Counseling. So those are things I'm going to be working on this coming week. The big two things was that virtual assistant. So that's going to be all set up. So I'm not fielding those calls when we first get started. And then moving into talking with my accountant. So I had a meeting with my accountant, Kevin. I didn't record that because we covered all sorts of ground. But, like even just talking about things like my partner Claire has moved into the house and talking about how do we make sure that money that we're exchanging back and forth for our relationship isn't seen as gift tax or things like that. So talking with him about a joint account, kind of looking at year-end tax planning, how much to put into the retirement account. I've got some rentals we talked through. But for Great Lakes Online Counseling, that's where he brought up the idea of Nexus. Now, this is something you definitely want to know about if you have a multi-state practice. Something always comes up when you're running a private practice. Well, Gusto's payroll and HR services can make it a little easier. Gusto was designed for you, the small business owner. They take the pain out of running a business, automatically calculating paychecks, filing payroll taxes, setting up open enrollment. Gusto does it all. Want more? Time tracking, health insurance, 401k, onboarding, commuter benefits, offer letters, access to HR experts. You get the idea. With Gusto, you can focus on the joy of running your business. It's super easy to set up and get started. And if you're moving from another provider, Gusto can transfer all the data for you. It's no surprise 99% of businesses said the value they get for Gusto is worth the price. And here's the best part. Because you're a listener, you get 3 months totally free. All you have to do is go to gusto.com/Joe. Again, that's gusto.com/Joe. I'm telling you, you're going to love Gusto. Get started today. And so I pulled up a little tutorial that I'm just going to read to you. And I used our chat bot to put this together for us to bring together some of the best things. So what Nexus registration means. So Nexus registration refers to the process of registering your business with a state because you have enough connection or nexus to that state to trigger tax or regulatory obligations. So in plain English, if your practice has a meaningful presence in a state, that state can require you to register, collect taxes, and file returns there. So that could be a substantial thing, as I move forward with growing this practice. So why Nexus matters in healthcare, especially therapy and telehealth, is that healthcare practices, especially multi-state telehealth practices, trigger Nexus more easily than traditional businesses. So you can create Nexus through first people. That's the most common in healthcare. So likely if you have Nexus, it would be if you have a therapist that's licensed and practicing in that state. So we'll be talking about kind of if one person is licensed in multiple states, how does that work? You pay a W-2 employee who lives there, or you have a clinical director or supervisor in that state. So even one clinician working from their home can create Nexus. Next, services delivered to patients. So for therapy practices, telehealth sessions count as services performed in that patient's state. Some states treat professional services as creating income tax nexus, even if there's no sales tax. And so we're going to have to work with Headway on making sure that we break down each state and what percentage of the whole finances come in through each state. So this is especially relevant for Michigan, New York, Pennsylvania, Minnesota, Texas, and California. So the states we're going to be in. Next, we have economic nexus. So this is revenue-based. So some states require registration if you exceed a revenue threshold, often 100K or more, or a certain number of transactions. So that's less common in healthcare. So that could be for courses, digital products, assessments, coaching, things like that. So what registration usually involves if Nexus exists is it typically means registering for the state with state income tax, state withholdings if you have workers there, unemployment insurance, and sales tax. And then ongoing obligations of annual or quarterly sales tax returns, issuing W-2s tied to that state, and paying state-specific employer tax. So I'm going to be doing all that through Gusto. So my accountant said that's not going to be a problem. There's some things, though, that you want to make sure you look out for. as you're doing this. So common healthcare examples, you're an LLC formed in Florida, you hire a therapist licensed in Texas, and they see Texas clients via telehealth, and they live in Texas. So the result is Nexus is triggered by Texas. You must register in Texas, and you may own franchise tax filings. You may owe franchise tax filings even if no tax is due. So you must handle the Texas payroll compliance. So for me, I'm like, oh man, this just got really confusing doing this private practice. So that's why I think we're going to start with 3 states and go really kind of slowly, make sure we do it right. So misconceptions, and again, I'm not an accountant or attorney. Just this is, how I'm thinking through it. So we're a telehealth practice. So we don't have a physical presence. So that's false in most states. States treat people, license, and service delivery as the physical presence for Nexus purposes. So why practices get in trouble? So most practices grow fast. They hire out-of-state clinicians. They don't register. They get flagged later. They have payroll audits, insurance credentialing, practice sells during due diligence, and then they face backed taxes, penalties, and forced retroactive registrations. I don't want any of that. I want to do this right. I'm doing it publicly, so there's probably even more scrutiny. And so I want to be able to talk through these things. And by doing it publicly, it also means that all of you might discover things in your state that you say, hey, Joe, sounds like between your accountant, your attorney, your AI chatbot, all the things that you're doing, all the interviews, you missed this thing. So hopefully I'll have the strongest possible practice moving forward. So the accountant bottom line here is you should assume Nexus exists in any state where you have a licensed clinician working, a supervisor or admin employee, and regular therapy services delivered to residents. So I do want to check with Headway on this whole Nexus thing because some of their structuring might be different. So I'm going to put Nexus plus Headway as something I'm going to work on this week because I want to make sure that because they're in multiple states and then they would be paying Great Lakes Online Counseling as a 1099 provider. And so are we the only one? Or then if we're also having our own providers, does that trigger Nexus? So we should assume Nexus exists in any state where you have one, a licensed clinician working, or a supervisor or admin employee, or regular therapy services delivered to residents. If you want, I can, and then it walks through what else I might want to walk through. So I think that's super important to think through those things because it can be that can be very triggering, obviously, if we don't do that right. So that's what I'm walking through this week. So phones, virtual assistant, accounting, getting things up with Google Admin. That's what I've been working on and kind of looking forward into. Once the website gets going, what we're going to do is, I'm not sure if I mentioned this before, we're going to chop up my book, Dating After Betrayal, and we're going to use AI to generate that book into individual blog posts, then read it to make sure it doesn't sound too AI-y, and then keep moving forward with that. And obviously, we're going to be backlinking that website through Practice of the Practice, anywhere we can that it makes sense. So thanks so much for hanging out with us today. Today, our sponsor is actually Gusto. Gusto are the HR experts. They help you through all those tough HR situations. It's so easy to switch over there. You don't pay a cent until you run your first payroll. So try Gusto today over at gusto.com/Joe. You're going to get the first 3 months for free when you pay your first payroll. Again, that's gusto.com/Joe. Thank you for letting me into your ears and into your brain. Have a great day. I'll talk to you soon. Special thanks to the band Silence is Sexy for that intro music, and this podcast is designed to provide accurate and authoritative information in regard to the subject matter covered. It is given with the understanding that neither the host, the producers, the publishers, or guests are rendering legal, accounting, clinical, or other professional information. If you want a professional, you should find one.